okay? But it does say don't test for daily amounts yet. And the reason is we're going to be covering daily amounts more in detail. The DVD will talk about daily amounts, okay? And it will give you some of the basics, but I want you to hold off from doing that at this point, all right? Yeah. All right. And so what we're going to be doing next is having you take a look at a certain document. Now, many of these documents are in your blue folder. In fact, you will be able to go to your blue folder later, and there are copies of test forms that you're going to be using, as well as some forms that are in plastic pouches. And those plastic pouches, the forms that are in there, are your masters, okay? And of course, you can make additional copies as you need to from them, okay? All right. And so next what we're going to do is we're going to go to our Training Buddy booklet. And let's go ahead at this point and take a look at document F, as in Frank. Well, let's just browse through it first, okay? So as we're browsing through it, we go from document B to document D, flying the jet. And what you'll notice is that this is a one page, whereas before you were using it on 2 pages, right? Yeah. And we wanted you, again, to have the very important basic fundamentals always at the forefront of your mind, okay, as we're doing this other testing. If we flip on over, we'll see document, E as in Edward, not Frank, and this is called your personal test buddy. And so if you take a look at this document, what this is as I mentioned earlier, it's a follow the yellow brick road approach to learning how to use muscle testing for nutrition testing that allows you to have test results that can be as good or even better than that of a trained kinesiologist. You'll notice off to the left, just underneath the balloon number 1, that we even have the bricks laid out there in following the yellow brick road. You see that? Yeah. Okay. And yeah, exactly. And you know, the reason for this, and you'll notice that when you go in your folder that the form is even yellow, is that we do believe in the yellow brick road approach. If you recall from The Wizard of Oz, right? Right. And so what happened to Dorothy was that she got into this strange land, and the only way to get to the wizard, to get to the answer, to get back home, was to follow the yellow brick road. And the yellow brick road worked great, except for when? That's right, when she got off of it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so muscle testing is one of those things that's kind of like flying a jet. You really got to know your stuff. Otherwise, you're not going to get to your destination. Okay? Or you'll get to a destination, but it won't be the one you were needing to get to. Okay? And so let me tell you a little something about this form here, because it's near and dear to my heart. This form started, must have been about 8 years ago. And what this is something that has been distilled over many years for you to very quickly get professional results. And even though I am like the creator of the form, you would think that if there would be anybody who wouldn't have to use this form, it would be me, right? Because I know it like the back of my hand. And I always use it. Okay, because it's like this. You know, when they fly a jet, they don't say, well, I think we got it right this time. They go through lists, don't they? And that's why we have such an amazing degree of accuracy in something as complex. And now this isn't as complex as flying a jet, but when we follow the same principles, we can get the same accuracy, right? Okay. All right, so again, it said carefully follow steps 1, 2, and 3. Step 1 is to prepare. Step 2 is to qualify. If you go down to step 2.5, if you don't qualify, then you'll be making some adjustments there. And then you follow step number 3 to test for the benefit of the product, but we're not going to test for the daily amounts yet. Okay? So if you take a look at this document, again, underneath balloon number 1, you'll notice that if we go down to the second line under balloon number 1, that there is a small number 1 next to it. Do you see that? Okay. And if you look underneath the title of the Personal Test Buddy, what does it say right there? Okay, great. So we're on document E. Let's go ahead and flip back now to document F. And that's called my navigator. And if you look at number 1 there, it tells you a little bit more about what a controlled environment is, okay, and how to keep your environment in good shape. So the purpose of my navigator, document F, is to provide further detailed instructions anytime you need them from your personal test buddy. Okay, so now let's go back to document E, the personal test buddy. And what you'll notice is that there are a bunch of footnotes as you go down. Now, the main thing is as you are learning how to do this testing is that you take your time with it. And this is part of what's going to give you the skill to be able to remember this for the rest of your life, because eventually, when it comes to food and food supplement testing, you'll hear us talk about it more on the DVD, you want to get down to testing only once every 6 months or so for the average person. Okay, in other words, you'll develop your own food supplement regimen, and once every 6 months, you'll go ahead and make changes as necessary by going back and testing your entire battery of products that you've been consuming to maintain that high level of balance, vitality, and homeostasis that you're going to be achieving. Yay! But only as Dr. Townsley speaks of in chapter 3. So it's an amazing chapter where she talks about what she calls stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 adrenal stress, and how it is that we can come back to homeostasis. And so it's really exciting because, of course, one of the things that I've been able to watch happen is in people's lives. You know, we've been around, you know, we're on our 13th year now. And over a period of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, as Dr. Townsley suggests that it takes to naturally return to homeostasis, I've been able to watch that happen in people's lives, and it's fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, so basically what you're going to do is you're going to follow the personal test buddy to get accuracy in your testing, and then if you look in the lower right-hand quadrant of the personal test buddy, document E, you'll see a scorecard. And pay attention in the DVD to make sure that you get the scores in their proper columns, okay? So you'll be learning more about that on the DVD, okay? Any questions about the personal test buddy and following this step-by-step form?
No, I think I've got that.
Okay, all right. A quick word I want to talk about here, step number 2, qualifying, okay? You're going to hear about this in the audio. I'm sorry, in the audio and in the DVD, okay. All right? But what I want to discuss is to re-emphasize that you always qualify yourself for testing. In other words, you always verify that you have a green light go for testing, okay? What the poor food and the good food in the form of the Skittles, chickpeas, and almonds does is it makes sure that you're in a testable state where you're responding appropriately to a poor food versus a good food, and that will be defined further in the DVD. But the point is that we always want to make sure that we're in a testable state. Okay, for myself and for everybody, it's different. Some people can, 30% of the time that they test themselves are not in a testable state. For me, it's about once out of every 20 times. And so the range can be anywhere in between that. But the point is that when you're not in a testable state and you're not responding appropriately to poor food versus a good food, your test scores are invalid. In fact, sometimes they're inverted. Okay, do you see the danger there? Yeah. You'll test weak on something good for you, and you'll toss that out the window. Right. You'll test good on something bad for you, and not a good idea. So we always want to make sure we're in a testable state, and so pay special attention to that. Okay? All right, let's next go back to document B. All right. And so again, what it says here is using the personal test buddy in the folder. So you will have one in your folder. I want you to pull that out right now. Okay. And is it a yellow form?